I can scarcely believe recent events. Events that involved the musketeers for one very last time. He holds the quill pensively in his hand. How can I explain these bewildering secrets that still defy belief? I will have to cast my mind further back to those fateful final moments in the Bastille when another shocking secret was revealed. Aramis apprehensively dips his quill in the thick black ink. Aramis, now speaking in a reading voice as he collects his thoughts prior to writing. Besieged in that legendary French prison, the Bastille, by the King's Musketeers and King Louis XIV himself, the three musketeers, myself included of course, had finally learned of D'Artagnan's revelation that he was the actual father of Louis and the King's secret twin brother, Philippe. He pauses for a moment and then speaks normally. No. I'm going to have to go back further to bring some sort of sense to this. Aramis stares into the ebbing fire. Aramis. He again speaks in his reading voice. Queen Anne had given birth to not just one, but two sons, Louis and Philippe. Philippe had been whisked away minutes after birth to a country estate on the orders of the then king, who feared that a twin could destabilize the throne. Even D'Artagnan did not know he had fathered two children until much later. There had, obviously, been more to D'Artagnan's relationship with the Queen than merely a dutiful one. The years fell by, and when Louis eventually discovered himself that he had a twin, he cruelly locked his brother's identity inside an iron mask and threw him in the Bastille to rot. Years later, I, whom had sworn an oath never to reveal this secret, decided it was time to betray my sacred promise. King Louis XIV had become arrogant and callous. He had even sacrificed Athos's son, Raoul, to the front line because of his own selfish interest in Raoul's fiancée. Aramis takes a deep, contemplative breath. Aramis. So, with the willing help of Athos and the slightly unwilling assistance of our ale-loving friend, Porthos, we hatched an audacious plot to break the iron-masked Philippe out of the Bastille, and once ready to secretly replace Louis as the King of France. It nearly worked, but D'Artagnan, who still refused to believe ill of his son Louis, became suspicious, and we were forced to flee the Palais de Versailles without Philippe, who was once again imprisoned back in the Bastille and back behind the dreaded iron mask. So, myself, Athos, and Porthos had come for Philippe again. But this time, King Louis, D'Artagnan, and the King's Musketeers were waiting for us. We three musketeers had somehow managed to capture D'Artagnan in the confusion, and upon discovering that Philippe was also his son, he began to finally agree with me that Philippe was the more suitable one for the throne. So together, D'Artagnan, we three musketeers, and Philippe stormed the King's Musketeers, who, despite themselves, could not aim true for the revered legends of D'Artagnan and the Musketeers. Seeing what was happening, Louis grabbed a sword and lunged at Philippe, but D'Artagnan, instinctively protecting his other son, moved in the way and the sword entered deep within the younger musketeer's chest.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.